G'day everybody, Scott Burch here, back for another episode of GRM Tech Talk. Today's episode we'll be looking at cooling down the engine. The front end of any race car or any road car is really critical. What you have is a lot of things going on. Aerodynamically, you're setting up all the flow for the front end of the car. On top of that, you've got a lot of engine components that need to breathe, and you need a lot of cooling airflow. On your average road car, cooling drag can account from anywhere between 5% to 20%. So when we want to get cooling flow into the radiator of a supercar, we want to make it as efficient as possible. You typically don't see a lot of radiator ducting on your average road car, but it's really commonplace on race cars. Research into radiator ducting was a really fleeting experience, generally happened around the mid to late 30s. Generally a lot of the development these days happens within the automotive world. So one of the key features of a radiator duct is we're trying to make the use of all the air coming into the car as effective as possible. We don't want to use too much air because that causes drag, but we want to get it to cover a big area of the large radiator behind the front fascia of the car. So what we do is something called a diffuser duct. Diffuser basically means it expands at a rate like this. What happens there is you're doing a couple of things with the airflow incoming. You're slowing down the stream of air hitting the car. As the air expands, it slows down. The other thing that happens there is it builds up its pressure. When you get a big pressure difference on the front of the radiator to the back, you drive the flow through it, increases the cooling effectiveness of the car. The other thing you're actually doing is when you build up the pressure in the duct, you've got the pressure pushing on the face of the radiator, also pushing on the front of the car. You actually get a negative drag effect from that, so your radiator duct is effectively pulling the car through the air. The airflow going through the car hurts the car's efficiency. We don't tend to need all of that air to cool the engine all the time, so generally you'll see when we're in qualifying runs, we'll be tuning up the car. We'll actually block off the airflow with these little guys here. These plates are called Gurneys. So you can see up here is something for heavy duty qualifying trim where we block the radiator right up, because all we're looking to do is one flying lap and get a good time in. By blocking up the radiator, we can do a couple of things. We cut the drag on the car by reducing the amount it's using to cool it down. We can also help push more car under the front end and give us a little bit of extra downforce. Even still, one of the most nerve-wracking things for a race engineer or crew is watching the temperature climb. Generally, we get it right all the time. One scenario where it does get pretty stressful is under safety cars. When the cars are bunched up, you'll often see the cars pull out of the queue and get some fresh air into the engine, cool it down a bit. Thanks for tuning in for the latest episode of GRM Tech Talk. Looking forward to seeing you next time. Just doing some aero testing.